What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. My name's CJ. This is Out of Bounds DFS, and in today's video, we're going to be talking Monkey Knife Fight for today's March 2nd NBA slate. So if you're unfamiliar with Monkey Knife Fight, they got a few different ways for you to play fantasy point projection-based games for DFS. So if you're not familiar with them, I'm going to give you a first look at it today, and you might be surprised at how fun some of these games actually are. So we're definitely going to dig into that today. If this is your first time to the channel, welcome to Out of Bounds DFS. On this channel, we talk all things single player daily fantasy sports. So if you're into Monkey Knife Fight, well, we'll be talking about that here in just a minute. Prize Picks and some of these other sites, well, we're going to talk about all of them as they continue to grow with us here on YouTube. Today we got about 6 games on the NBA slate, so we're going to dig into those and see what we're liking, what we're not liking here. So let's get right into it. If this is your first time ever playing Monkey Knife Fight and you'd like to go and deposit and join, well, you can use my deposit promo code OOBDFS. That's Out of Bounds DFS, shortened up, abbreviated OOBDFS. That gets you a 100% deposit match on your first deposit of up to $50 on Monkey Knife Fight. I'll leave a link down in the description of this video in case you forget where to go or what to do. But kicking things off here, we've got the first game on the board, which is called More or Less, and this is very similar to Prize Picks. So everybody who follows me for my Prize Picks videos, you'll probably like this More or Less format, as it is just like Prize Picks in terms of you're just taking the over or the under, or in this case, more or less on these fantasy projections here. So we'll start with the first guy, Giannis Antetokounmpo, who is projected at 59.5. Now, as a reference point, we use Roto Grinders to kind of compare Roto Grinders to Monkey Knife Fight, as they both use the same scoring format. So it makes it real easy for us to get an idea of what's going on here. So they've got Giannis at 59.5 on Monkey Knife Fight. They've got him at 59.03 over on Roto Grinders. Let's open up his game logs real quick, because Giannis Antetokounmpo has been going over this 59.5 point mark pretty regularly here. If you go back and look at his last 5 games, over, slightly under, and then over. So in 4 out of 5 games, he has went for more than 59.5. Now, love the way that things are shaping up for him. The other thing that really helps him here is the fact that these game totals are pretty healthy here. Milwaukee expected to score 121 points, Denver 114 with just a 7-point spread. I think these games, or this game, is going to stay pretty close and competitive, and I'm loving the totals here. So in this case, I'd be more on the 59.5 fantasy points for Giannis Antetokounmpo. And Nikola Jokic, the other side of this game here, the Denver Nuggets big man, 57.5 fantasy points. So if you take a look at where he's at on Roto Grinders, they got him at 57.07. So they take a slight under on the 57.5. Let's just dig into the game logs real quick and look at his last 5. So you can see in his last 5 games, he's went for 57.5 or more points in 1, 2, 3 out of his last 5. So 3 times he has went for more than 57.5. 2 times he has went less than 57.5. And for the same reasons I like Giannis Antetokounmpo, I like Nikola Jokic here. I think this is a good matchup. I think Milwaukee struggles against big guys, especially talented ones like Jokic. And I love the game totals and spread here. So I'm sticking with going more on Nikola Jokic on this 57.5. Now the next guy up is LeBron James, who is projected at 50.5 points. So if we go and find LBJ on Roto Grinders, he's projected at 50.62 points. So these guys are pretty dialed in here. Monkey Knife Fight, Roto Grinders, they kind of agree on this projection of around 50.5 for LeBron. Now let's dig into his game logs here and see if he's been able to hit that number more or less in his last 5 games. So you can see going back to the 5th game, he went less. 56.3 here, he went more. 28.8, that's a big less. 70.7, that's a big more. And then 42.2 would be a big less on this 50.5 point projection. So he's went for more in 1, 2 games and less in 3. So a 2 and 3 split here for LeBron. Now, looking at the game totals, LA 107.75. They're a 2-point home favorite against this Phoenix Suns team who's projected to score 105.75. So game totals are a bit underwhelming, but the spread of 2 points means it's going to stay competitive, or at least it should, according to Vegas odds makers. So I kind of like the less here on LeBron James, just based on recent game logs and the totals being so light. So I'm going to stick with that for LeBron James. The next two guys are both Washington Wizards. We got Bradley Beal at 48.5, Russell Westbrook at 46.5. So Bradley Beal 48.5. Let's take a look at where they've got him here on Roto Grinders. They got him at 47.47. So they like the less on Bradley Beal. Let's look at his game logs and see how that 48.5 number has fared for Bradley Beal. Now going back to his fifth game here, he went more. Then you got less, more, more. So he's went more than 48.5 points in 3 out of 5 games. So pretty good success rate there. Now, looking at the game totals here, you got Washington at 117.25, Memphis at 118.25. So Memphis is a 1-point road favorite here, but tons of points to be scored on this game, which means anytime a team or teams combine for 230 or more fantasy points, or real life points, 230 real life points, that means there's going to be a ton of fantasy potential here. So there should be lots of fantasy points scored here. In this case, I'll probably take the more on Bradley Beal. I think this is a game where lots of points will be scored and Bradley Beal will be the beneficiary. Now, Russell Westbrook's the next guy here at 46.5. Let's find Westbrook. And he is the highest projected point guard according to Roto Grinders. They got him at 48.41. He's a combo guard. And this Memphis team has allowed 42 or more fantasy points per game on average to combo guards like Westbrook. So let's just see how his last 5 game logs have stacked up here. All right. So if we go back to his 5th game, 60.3 would be more than 46.5, 51.8 would be more, 47 would be more, 54.8 would be more, and 44.2 would be less. So he's went for a more in 4 out of 5 games and a less in just 1 out of 5 games. So I think the more is definitely the way to go on this 46.5. I think him and Beal are going to have pretty darn good games here. Trae Young's the next guy to talk about. He's at 46.5. He is the second highest projected player according to Roto Grinders. They got him at 46.46, which would put him just slightly under this 46.5. Let's see how Trae Young's been doing in his recent games. Got 64.7 more, 52.4 more, 47.3 more, and then he goes less and less in his last 2 games. Now, his last game was against this Miami Heat team where he went for just 37.1 points. I think this game he bounces back, but ultimately I'm kind of leaning toward taking less. They got a new head coach. The spread and totals, not that great here. But yeah, I'm going to say that there's a little bit of a figuring it out period for this Atlanta Hawks team under Nate McMillan. And I'm going to go less on Trae Young. The next guy on the board is Jayson Tatum, who's kind of been playing all over the place in terms of his recent production. It's kind of been one where it's hard to project Jayson Tatum. He's at 44.5 today versus the Los Angeles Clippers. And Roto Grinders, they feel like he will go for less than 44.5. So let's get in his game logs real quick. There's a chance, I want to mention, that Jaylen Brown sits tonight. So if that's the case, then expect more production for guys like Jayson Tatum, even Kemba Walker. But you can see in his last 5 games, he's went for more than 44.5 here, more. Then you have less, and more. So 3 out of 5, he's went more. 2 out of 5, he has went less. No previous game log to look at versus this Clippers team. This situation is going to be a tough one, I think, for Tatum, even if Brown plays or if he doesn't play. You got Paul George and Kawhi Leonard, 2 of the best two-way players in the league, both very good on the offensive and defensive end. I think they can slow Jayson Tatum down and make tonight a difficult night for him. given the fact that Boston's expected to only score 109.25 points, well, I'm going to favor the less on Jayson Tatum and say that he struggles tonight. And finally, the last guy to talk about is Kawhi Leonard, 44.5 points, taking on this Boston Celtics team. Kawhi's kind of been a guy that's been tough to project as well. So if we look at his projection, 42.44, they like the less according to Roto Grinders. He is a versatile forward. Celtics allowing 30.5 fantasy points per game to versatile forwards, so maybe that helps Kawhi Leonard out. But let's take a look here at his last 5 and see how many times he's went more or less on 44.5. 50.1 puts him more, 48.4 more, 30.5 less, 50.3 more, and 46.3 more. So based on 44.5, he's went more in 4 out of his 5 games, and he's went less than 44.5 in just 1 game. So pretty good success rate on going more or higher than this 44.5. So based on the totals on the Clippers side, 113.25, they should be scoring a pretty decent amount of points here, and I'm not really worried about anybody slowing Kawhi Leonard down. Jaylen Brown would probably be the guy that I'd be most worried about, but if he's going to be sitting, I'm going to be taking the more on Kawhi Leonard. So once you get all your picks in here, if you get all 8 of these right, guys, you will win 100 times whatever your buy-in is. Now, this is difficult. Don't get me wrong. It's hard to get 8 picks right, 8 players right. But if you do, let's say you risk just $5, well, you could turn that $5 into $500. Who wouldn't like a return on investment for that type of money? So I'm going to try it. I'm going to try and lock it in. Let me see if it'll let me. Sometimes it refreshes. Boom. We're in there. Sweet. We'll see how it goes. Maybe I could turn 5 into 500. Let's move on and talk the next game here, which is Rapid Fire. Rapid Fire is a pretty cool concept. So with Rapid Fire, basically it pits 2 NBA superstars head-to-head against one another, and it's our job to figure out which NBA superstar will score more fantasy points than the other. So as you can see on some of these guys here, they put a small bonus on their fantasy point projections. So if you see like Nikola Jokic here, who is at a plus 1.5 bonus fantasy points, it gives them a little bit of an edge here. So let's just go head-to-head with some of these guys and see who's going to win this matchup. So starting things off, we got Giannis Antetokounmpo versus Nikola Jokic. Now, Antetokounmpo for me is probably going to be the guy I'm going to choose here, even though Nikola Jokic has that small bonus. I do think that the ceiling here for Giannis Antetokounmpo is a good one. Matter of fact, let me go in here and actually turn on ceilings so we could see who has the higher upside. Boom. We've got that enabled. Now their ceilings are actually pretty close, but as you can see, Giannis does have a slight edge. Not only that, but he's got the more favorable DVA out of the 2 players, and he has just been playing fantastic basketball. So in this case, I'm taking Giannis to out-duel Nikola Jokic in this rapid fire. The next matchup we have pits LeBron James against Bradley Beal. Bradley Beal getting a 2.5 point fantasy bonus here. LeBron, it's been tough for him to put up any real big fantasy games lately. Been kind of a spotty player ever since Anthony Davis went down, truthfully. So I like the fact that Bradley Beal is in a situation where there's much higher game totals and the game is expected to stay close. So in this case, I'm going to probably take Bradley Beal here. Beal projected at 47.47, so let's say that's accurate, and we add 2.5 more onto that. He's going up to about 50 points. Now LeBron, he is projected at over 50 points, but again, I like the situation here for Beal in terms of upside. I mean, the ceiling here versus LeBron. You got LeBron with a 66-point ceiling, Bradley Beal with a 62-point ceiling. Pretty close in terms of ceiling. The situation here, though, I like the game script better here for Bradley Beal, so I'm taking him in this head-to-head. The next head-to-head is another Washington Wizard, Russell Westbrook versus Trae Young. Trae Young's been struggled in his last game against Miami, struggled in his last 2 games overall. Russell Westbrook, on the flip side, has been playing much, much better basketball. Again, liking the game totals and spread here a lot more, plus they're giving Russ a little half-point bonus. Why not? I think I got the edge here with Russell Westbrook. Let's just take a look at how their projections line up. Here you got Russ at 48, Trae Young at 46, plus Russ has the much higher ceiling than Trae Young, and both are in pretty good matchups in terms of DVA. So I'm leaning towards Russ here. I think he gets it done. Next guy you have is Jayson Tatum taking on Kawhi Leonard. They're giving Jayson Tatum a half-point bonus, but truthfully, I think I like Kawhi Leonard in this situation. Reason being is that he is a better defender. No matter if it's Paul George or Kawhi Leonard who are D'ing up Jayson Tatum, I guarantee you one of those guys are going to be locked up on Tatum tonight. So if we take a look here, we've got Kawhi Leonard projected at 42.44, Jayson Tatum at 42.23. Ceiling favors Jayson Tatum by just a little bit. Both are considered to be versatile forwards. Now, Kawhi Leonard's got the better DVA situation, defense versus archetype. It's like DVP, but better. So leaning on that little figure, I think Kawhi Leonard ends up winning this, despite Tatum getting a little half-point bump. Now, the last matchup is kind of interesting because you got two guys, superstars for the Miami Heat, Bam Adebayo versus Jimmy Butler. Both of these guys taking on the Atlanta Hawks tonight. Butler's a little banged up, so he may not end up playing in this game, but keep that in mind. Looking at Jimmy Butler's projection, he's at 44.72, so even if we tack on a 1.5 point bonus, that'd put him up at like 45, 46 fantasy points, which would put him well over Bam Adebayo's projection. Plus, he's got the higher ceiling versus Bam. And if we look at the DVAs, they're pretty similar here. Not very great DVAs for either player. Jimmy, much higher fantasy point per minute guy, and his usage rating is much higher too. So this makes a ton of sense. As long as Jimmy Butler plays, I think he wins this rapid fire matchup here versus his teammate, Bam Adebayo. So after you lock in your 5 picks here, you've got a chance to win 20 times your buy-in. So then you would lock in whatever your wager is, whatever your entry fee or buy-in amount, $2 up to $100, and then you could go 20x on your money if you get all 5 of these guys right. So pretty cool game, liking that one. Now the last one is even more interesting to me, and I say that it's interesting because basically the way you play this one is you're going to be able to draft any 3 players of your choice, and your goal is to hit more than this 177.5 goal, 186.5, or 194.5. So they give you a pool of fantasy points that you basically have to exceed using 3 fantasy players of your choice. So you can either go for 1.5x your money, 2 times your money, or 3 times your money. We're going to go big or go home here. 194.5. So we got to draft 3 players. Let's look at the guys who have the highest ceilings on tonight's NBA slate. Giannis Antetokounmpo, I think he makes a lot of sense. That's going to be an easy lock for me, putting Giannis in there, especially with the way that the game totals and spread is looking here. I think there's going to be a ton of points on the Milwaukee side, and Giannis should be at the forefront of that. Loving the ceiling of 74.38. You're going to need to target guys who you feel have tremendous upside in these matchups because that's a whole lot of fantasy points to try and get to. Ceiling wise, Julius Randle, not really feeling that. The game totals on that are pretty light. Not going to go there. LeBron, no, probably not going to go LeBron. I'd like to take one of the guys from the Wizards game, to be honest. Russell Westbrook or Bradley Beal. So let's see if we could find them and see where their ceilings are tonight. Let's go to all position. There we go. There's some more guys with huge ceilings. Yeah, I think Yokic makes a lot of sense too. Let's lock Yokic in as our second player. You can see his ceiling is well over 73 points. This is just not a good situation for the Milwaukee Bucks facing off against a talented guy like Nikola Jokic. And yeah, let's make our last guy Russell Westbrook. He's projected for 48 points, but has a ceiling of 70. So we're going to lock in the 3 guys on the board who have ceilings of 70 or more fantasy points and hope for the best here. So Westbrook, boom, there you have it. Now, if these guys, all 3 of them hit their ceiling, 7, 14, 20, I mean, you're talking over 200 fantasy points here. We just need to hit 194. So these guys do need to have ceiling-like performances in order for us to top this 194.5. If we do, we can triple up and get 3x on whatever our buy-in is, anywhere from $2 up to $250. So I hope this video was helpful for all you Monkey Knife Fight players. Again, if you want to play on Monkey Knife Fight and you never have before, well, I've got a deposit bonus for you. You just have to use promo code OOBDFS. That stands for Out of Bounds Daily Fantasy Sports. So I'll leave a link down in the description below for you guys to check it out. I'll also leave a link for our Discord channel down in the description below. So if you're not a member of the Discord yet, we talk about fantasy sports and all kind of other stuff. We have a lot of fun in there. Totally free for you to join if you're interested. But that's gonna do it for me. This is CJ for Out of Bounds DFS. Good luck tonight if you're playing on Monkey Knife Fight. And drop a comment below and let me know which one of these 3 games in the video that you're liking the most and why. Love to hear your feedback. Appreciate you guys. We'll catch you in the next one. Good luck tonight. Peace.